When working with Ruben on the FMS squat test, I first explained how to set up for the movement. I had him stand with his feet about shoulder width apart and keep his back as straight as possible. For the level 3 version, I asked him to hold the dowel above his head with his arms locked out, keeping his heels on the ground and slowly lowering into a squat. I reminded him to stay tall through his chest, keep the dowel above the middle of his feet and control his balance on the way down throughout the movement. During both versions, I reminded him to keep his knees from caving in and to move as smoothly as possible. When analysing the video, Ruben scored a 2 out of 3. He was able to complete the movement safely, but he had more trouble keeping his back straight during the level 3 squat with the dowel overhead. This indicates that limited hip and ankle mobility made it harder for him to stay upright and maintain proper alignment in the deeper part of the squat. On to the FMS hurdle step test, where I started by measuring the distance from Ruben's tibial tuberosity to the bottom of his foot, which is 44 centimetres. This measurement determined the height of the hurdle for this test, where I then explained to him how to set up by having him stand tall with his feet together and the dowel resting across the back of his shoulders. I told him to keep his eyes forward, keep his core gently engaged and stay as steady as possible. Next, I asked him to lift one leg up, step over the hurdle while tapping his heel lightly on the floor on the other side, and then bringing that same leg back over the hurdle to return to the starting position. I reminded him not to rush this movement, keeping his hips level and to focus on staying balanced throughout the movement. We repeated the same process on the other leg. Ruben scored a 2 out of 3 on this test, due to him being able to complete the movement but showing some loss of balance, especially when stepping over the hurdle. This is mainly due to limited ankle mobility and reduced core stability, which made it harder for him to keep his body steady and maintain good control during the movement. With improvement in these areas, his balance and score will likely increase. Moving on to the inline lunge test, where I again measured the distance from Ruben's tibial tuberosity down, which as mentioned before was 44 centimetres. Based on this, we placed his foot at 44 centimetres on the board. I asked him to keep his feet lined up straight in the sagittal plane while holding the dowel along his spine, keeping everything tall and lowering himself straight down without wobbling or letting the dowel leave his back. Ruben scored a 2 out of 3 in this test. The reason for this was due to mild torso movement during both the descent and ascent of the lunge movement and the fact he was unable to maintain his feet and dowel position in the sagittal plane. These deviations indicate slight limitations in movement control and stability, which prevented a perfect score. However, these movements are highly trainable and with a bit of practice can easily be improved to a perfect 3 score. Shoulder mobility test, I asked Ruben to stand tall, make a fist with each hand and reach one hand over his shoulder and the other behind his back to see how close they could get to each other. Ruben performed this movement smoothly and with no pain. His hands were within 1.5 lengths of each other, which is why he scored a 2 out of 3. This means Ruben's shoulder mobility is good, but not quite efficient enough to get a 3 out of 3 score. Straight leg raise test had Ruben lie on his back and keep one leg straight and flat on the step while he lifted the other leg up as high as he could, without bending his knee or letting his lower back come off the mat. I told Ruben to keep his hips down and reach towards a vertical line that helps us measure how flexible his hamstrings are. Ruben scored a 3 out of 3, indicating the best score. This is because when he measured the vertical line from his malleolus, it stayed between the middle of his thigh and his hip bone, showing he has excellent hamstring flexibility. This overall indicates that his legs move very well and his muscles are not restricting his range of motion at all. Push-up test, I had Ruben lie on the floor and get into a plank position, with his hands under his shoulders and his thumbs aligned with the top of his head. I then asked Ruben to lower his body all the way down and push back up, while keeping his body straight from his head to his heels and allowing no sagging or arching in his back. Ruben received a maximum score of 3 in this test, indicating optimal performance. This is due to the fact that he was able to lift his entire body smoothly with no lag or deviation in the spine. This demonstrates excellent core stability, upper body strength and coordinated movement throughout the push-up. Stability test worked through 2 levels, these being level 2 and 3. In level 2 I had Ruben get on all fours and lift opposite arm and leg while keeping his spine and hips as still as possible, while moving slowly and controlled. In level 3, the movement is a bit harder, as he has to do this with the same leg and arm, which challenges his core and balance even more. Ruben scored a 2 out of 3, which indicates that he performed well at level 2, although was unable to successfully complete level 3. The reason for this is that while his movement pattern at level 2 was controlled and stable, level 3 revealed limitations in core stability and coordination. Essentially, Ruben's muscles are working well, but his core still needs more strength and control to manage a more advanced rotational movement. This is common and very trainable with the right targeted exercises. Test, I had Ruben move his arm through a series of movements to check for any pain or discomfort in his shoulder and surrounding joints. Ruben performed all these movements as instructed and experienced no pain, and due to this indicates a clear test. A clear test means that Ruben's shoulder is moving well and there is no obvious issues that need attention. Finally, when looking at both spinal flexion and extension clearing test, I asked Ruben to bend forward as far as he could and then lean backwards, moving his spine through its full range in a controlled way. Ruben did this smoothly and pain-free. As this test was pain-free, it is considered a clear test, which indicates that Ruben's spine is moving well and there is no signs of irritation or restriction in those directions.